Hello again. My name is Rhea Rivers with Kansas City Public School District. Today we are going to go over two sounds and we are going to practice spelling them and reading them. So by the time you are done watching this video, you would have been able to spell long I and read long I and make some words that have these different spellings of IE and IGH. This one looks tricky, but don't worry, we're going to practice. And also we are going to work on spellings for long O. We have long O, which spells O-A, O-E, O-O, or O-W. So these two sounds will be what we are going to learn more about today. Let's get started. Okay, let's practice spelling long I and reading long I today. We're going to make some new words spelling long I with IE and IGH today. Now, when we are learning different spellings of sounds, it's important for us to really tighten our thinking caps and remember that sometimes things are spelled in a way that really sometimes doesn't make sense to us. But if we follow the different spelling rules, we will succeed with spelling and reading the words correctly. So as I've always said, practice makes permanent. And that's why I'm here with you today, so we can learn the different spellings so you can become a better speller, because that's important when it comes to reading. It really is. And you can become a better reader, because the last thing we want to do while we're reading is to get stuck on words so much we don't understand what we're reading. So let's work really hard today. Stay with me. And remember, from our last video, I reminded you all to get pencils and paper so you can write down the things that we're learning, so you can go back to those particular skills so you won't forget. And you can practice at home with your family and continue to make new words of your own. And also practice them while you're reading. Please do that. Okay, so as you can see, trying to make sure that you guys can see it and the lighting isn't taking away from your view, I have two categories. So I have IE, I have IGH. And what I did was I started a word for you here, and I gave you the initial letter and sound, and then I gave you the final letter and sound in this word. The reason why I did that was so you could see how IE is spelled in words, or how it's used in words, because sometimes I and E are next to each other, but sometimes they are not. With that said, let's start. Now, I want you to think about what this word could possibly spell. I'm going to give you some think time. Make sure you can see it. You guessed it. P-I-E. That's the word. What does that spell? I'm going to put it closer so you can see it. Pie. Remember, we never want to add the vowel sound at the end of our consonant. P is our consonant. I always like to remind you to clip it. That means stop your sound. Don't say p, say p. Then I, pie. Now, before I actually said that K was your final letter, it is your final sound, but not your final letter. So I want to make sure I clarify and correct myself actually, because I don't want you to get that confused. So I am thinking to myself, I and E are not next to one another. Therefore, I know that I is going to go in its own spot and E is going to go in its own spot. As I said, you have the middle sound, which is I, and then E, as it usually does, says, you know what? You go ahead and you say your name. So I is going to say its name, reminding you we are learning to spell long I. So this word, once we complete it, will have a long I sound. I'm going to give you some more think time because even though you probably know what this word is, I want you to think about how many sounds you have and how many letters you have, because E does not make a sound in this word. Very good. The word is like. Notice that E doesn't say a sound. Like. That means we have three sounds. Three sounds. It's very important that we remember that, and I wanted to point that out to you because we have three sounds, but we have four letters. Four letters. So I and E can say, will say long I, make the long I sound when the letters are next to each other. But also, if the vowel is in the middle of the word and E is at the end. Now, let's move over to our next spelling, which is IGH. Really, we just have to remember that certain words are spelled this way. They are spelled this way for different reasons that I won't get into today. So we're just going to focus on, again, these two spellings and how to spell them and read them in a word. So, as you can see, there's one space between M and T. So we're going to bring IGH all the way down, and we're going to spell that's right, might. I want to make sure you guys can see that. Might. I might go to the store a little bit later on instead of going in the morning. Might. Or it could be Spider-Man pushed the building off of the man with all of his might. That means all of his strength. Okay, the same is going to go for this word down at the bottom. There's a little space there. That's not supposed to be there anymore from my hand. But I didn't put a T at the end of that, even though if I did put a T at the end and put the long I spelling between the S and the T, it would make a word too. But in this case, that's not the word that I'm spelling. I wanted to give you a different word. So I'm going to bring IGH down. So it's going to spell, you're right, S-I-G-H. If you just put those two sounds, because isn't that crazy? It has four letters. Look at that. It has 4 letters, S-I-G-H. However, it only has 2 sounds. So let's do that. Let's read those sounds. I. Try that again. I. Sigh. That's a sigh. We sigh sometimes when we're a little tired or we are maybe confused, but the word sigh is spelled like this. You learned a new word today, or maybe you already knew it. You're very smart. So let's look at these words again. Okay, so we have the spelling for I-E, and I want you to see my mouth. I-E, I, not puh, but pie. We have like, Ike. Remember, E doesn't make a sound. It's so polite. It tells I to say its name. I don't need to talk. You say your name. That's a good way for us to remember that I at the end is silent. And then we have the spelling I-G-H. Might. I want to finish my homework with all of my might, all of my strength, because I'm so tired, but I'm going to get the best grades possible. All of your strength. You can do it. And then we have sigh. I. Again, 2 sounds. Okay. We didn't do the sounds for this one. Might. How many sounds? I, t. 3 sounds. So keep practicing this with all of the people in your home. You can show your teachers. I know that you guys are doing this in class anyway through your classes online. And you might even work with an interventionist that is working with you on these sounds. So they're going to be so happy to see that you're practicing these things, watching these videos. So we are going to focus on long O next, okay? So stay with me. All right, I hope your thinking allowed you to come up with some new words. These are the words that I came up with. Now, going over the words that we had before, we had boat instead of coat. We had toe instead of dough. We had door instead of pour. And we had row instead of blow. As you can see, I've underlined our spelling for each one. For OA, we have coat now. Now these words I'm sharing with you. So you feel free to write them down. Please write them down. As I've spoken to you guys about writing down the skills and strategies that you see taught on these videos is very important because it allows you to go back and read what you wrote down and practice it at home. So we have for OE, dough. Now notice our D doesn't have a belly. A B has a belly, and this is a D. O, doe. Do you know what a doe is? A doe is a female deer. Now you probably have seen them before. Maybe you just looked at them and admired their beauty and thought they were cute because they are. But that's what they're called. They're called a doe. And then we have pour. Remember, it sounds different than the other long O words because we have that R at the end. So after we say or, we curve it because we have the R at the end. And then the last one is blow. O. And it's really important to note the sounds because as I've said to you when we were practicing the long I, it's very important for you to remember how many sounds you have in a word and how many letters you have in a word because sometimes they are not the same amount. So we have 4 letters here, but we have k, o, t. We have 3 letters. With do, we have 2 sounds, o, but we have 3 letters. This we need to count for pour too. Okay. Or we have 3. And then for blow, O, we have 3. So we have 4 letters, but 3 sounds. 3 letters, but 2 sounds. We have 4 letters here for pour, but we only have 3 sounds. And then we have 4 letters for blow, but we only have, yes, we have 3 sounds because B and L make their own sound, and then we have OW that makes the O sound. So these words that we wrote down and I shared with you, and hopefully you came up with the same words or even some even better. But keep practicing and put your work into action. That means read as much as possible and use these different skills that we have practiced because these will pop up in your reading as long as the long I, and you will be able to recognize them as soon as you see them and be able to read them. And that's exactly what we want you to do so you can understand what you're reading. Okay, guys, I will see you next time and we will be practicing how to spell long U. All right, until next time.
They will teach you anything, even if that's not their subject. After school, you can always go to them and ask, oh, can you help me on this problem? I really don't understand it. And if you're feeling down, I'll always be here. And there's other people because there's a lot of people that are nice, even if they're not in your grade, they'll still talk to you.
There's so much diversity, and even though there's a lot of diversity, everyone is kind to each other. And the teachers are still kind to us too.
Well, one of my vice principal helped me do math. I didn't used to know really math. She told me that if I try math hard, I'll get it. And then I told her I can't. She said I will, and then I tried to cry it out. I told her I can't. And she said she teach me. I listened to her. I told her I can't, and then she said, you can do this. And then I said, okay. And then I tried it and it was really fun. I really like math now. I'm trying to be a math teacher. I want to be a tutor.
Teachers, they help us to be a good student because they can help you through life, and
They can teach you lots of things.
I was struggling with one of my math work, and I told my teacher about it. She was like, "You don't give up." And then I tried. It was kind of hard, so I went to and then the teacher made a morning meeting where we go to her meeting and she helped us out with whatever we need help with.
I'll tell them to try something they never do. I'll prove them the school is better for them, just for the future. I want them to see how it is about school. I want them to feel good about school.
It's a really amazing school, and it's probably the best school that anyone would go to.
My teacher is Miss Cunningham, and one thing that I like about Miss Cunningham is that she helps me. She helps me through math, even though I'm really hard at it, and she helps me through everything that I've been through this week.
What surprised me the most about Gladstone Elementary School out of the other school I went to is everyone. Everyone helps people when they're down. The teachers help you. Some of my other school they didn't do that. The principal helps. They make good subjects. They even made day where you They even made culture day. Every school celebrates that, but Gladstone is different. It's like a dream come true. It's like a dream come true here at the school.
The teachers will always help you no matter what. Doesn't matter if it's not their subject. They will teach you after school if the other teacher's not there for you.
Whittier Elementary, you see all these nice people, and really they communicate with you and teach you things that you haven't learned.
You will learn a lot in a day here, and then we might go over it, but that's the best part, for you can know everything about it. So we'll go over it, and if you don't understand it, we'll go over it again.
Hi everyone, this is Miss Lu, and this is Chinese for level 2 and 3 students. Okay, so last time we learned about vegetables, and this week we're going to continue to learn about food, about 水果, the fruits. So like usual, we're going to do a review of the things we learned last time. So we learned about 5 vegetables. Let's see if you can still remember them. Have me together. 黄瓜黄瓜，土豆，土豆，生菜，生菜，西红柿，西红柿，西兰花，西兰花。Okay, so those are the 5 vegetables we learned last time. And remember the sentence, if you like to eat these 5 vegetables, you will say 我喜欢吃黄瓜，我喜欢吃土豆，我喜欢吃生菜，我喜欢吃西红柿 or 我喜欢吃西兰花。But if you do not like to eat them, you will say 我不喜欢吃黄瓜，我不喜欢吃土豆，我不喜欢吃生菜，我不喜欢吃西红柿，我不喜欢吃西兰花。Okay, so those are the things we learned last time, and today we're going to continue and learn about fruits. Okay, so like usual, you're going to need a pen and pencil and notebook to take notes. Let's get ready. Start. 你喜欢吃水果吗？你喜欢吃水果吗？水果，水果 ，so fruits 水果。你喜欢吃水果吗？喜欢，不喜欢？你喜欢吃水果吗？你喜欢吃苹果吗？你喜欢吃苹果吗？苹果，苹果，喜欢不喜欢？你喜欢吃 香蕉吗？你喜欢吃香蕉吗？香蕉，香蕉，喜欢，不喜欢？你喜欢吃橙子吗？你喜欢吃橙子吗？橙子，橙子，喜欢，不喜欢？你喜欢吃西瓜吗？你喜欢吃西瓜吗？西瓜，西瓜，喜欢吃，不喜欢吃？诶，你喜欢吃草莓吗？草莓，草莓，喜欢吃，不喜欢吃？Okay, so these are the 5 vocabulary for the 水果 for 水果 fruits. So let's do a review together. 苹果，苹果，香蕉，香蕉，橙子，橙子，西瓜，西瓜，草莓，草莓。Okay, like usual, our activity 画画，画画. So I'm going to name a fruit and then you're going to 画 draw it. Okay, so get ready. The first one, I would like you to draw which 水果 which 水果. Let's say 橙子，橙子. So draw 橙子 on your notebook. Which one is 橙子？橙子. So 橙子 is the oranges. 橙子. Do you get this one correct? The second one, 草莓，草莓，草莓. So which one is 草莓？草莓。草莓 is this one. Okay, strawberry, 草莓. And then the last one, I would like you to draw 苹果，苹果. So which one is 苹果？苹果，苹果 is apples. Okay, 苹果 apples. Do you get all the 3 correct? So one more time together. 苹果，香蕉，橙子，西瓜，草莓。Okay, 我喜欢吃 or 我不喜欢吃，我喜欢吃 or 我不喜欢吃。我喜欢吃水果 or 我不喜欢吃水果。我喜欢吃苹果 or 我不喜欢吃苹果。我喜欢吃香蕉，我不喜欢吃香蕉。我喜欢吃橙子，我不喜欢吃橙子。我喜欢吃西瓜，我不喜欢吃西瓜。我喜欢吃草莓，我不喜欢吃草莓。Okay, so 苹果、香蕉、橙子、西瓜、草莓. Okay, so let's get ready to take notes for today's words. So for 水果, 水果, okay, 水果, all kinds of fruits. 水果. 水果 is pretty easy to write. 水果树横树横树的撇捺水果 fruits 水果. And then we have香蕉 We have 苹果. Sorry about that. 苹果. 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 So you write the grass radical. 横点点横树 and then 果树横树横横横 and then 树撇捺苹果 okay. The next one we have 香蕉香蕉香蕉香蕉撇横树 and then 撇捺树横树横横 and then for 蕉 you have the grass radical the standing person 点横横树横 and then 4 dots at the bottom 香蕉 then we have 橙子橙子橙子 you write the root radical 横折点斜横撇横 and then you write a square and then 点点横橙子横折弯钩横橙子 oranges okay 橙子 next one we have 西瓜西瓜西瓜横竖横竖钩竖撇竖弯横西 and then 瓜撇竖撇竖钩点 and then 捺 okay 西瓜西瓜 and then we have the last one 草莓草莓草莓 strawberry 草莓 so 草 in the grass radical the sun in the middle and then number 10 at the bottom 草草 and then 莓 the grass radical 撇横竖横 and then 横竖钩点横点 this is the character for 每天的每 the everyday okay so 草莓 strawberry okay so these are the 5 words we learned today 苹果香蕉橙子西瓜 then 草莓 So, like usual, to conclude the lesson for today, I would like to leave your homework, which is to practice writing the characters for 3 times to try to recognize the characters. Okay? It's my pleasure having you in my class for today. I'll see you next time.
The desire to create lives within each of us. From Grammy-winning producers and musicians, to NBA stars, to Navy admirals and Medal of Honor recipients, to internationally renowned artists, and beloved local muralists, Paseo graduates have been creating their own success, their own history, their own legacy since 1926. Now it's your time. Create your future at Paseo Academy of Fine and Performing Arts. Learn more at enrollkc.org/Paseo.
I love Southeast because of the culture, the band program, and restorative justice.
I love Southeast because of the academics, sports, and students.
I love Southeast because of the people, the energy, and the advanced classes. It's not a like. I love Southeast because the students here at Southeast are full of potential and they believe in achieving anything. We are Southeast. Southeast. We stand shoulder to shoulder.
Join the Southeast family. Enroll today.
Hello, I'm Paul Turner, Social Studies Coordinator at Kansas City Public Schools. Welcome to Homeroom. Today, we're going to talk about immigration and basically how it affects the United States. So today, you're going to need a pencil, paper, and be ready to learn. Today's learning objective basically going to explain the cultural and economic factors that affected migration patterns over time. During this time frame, you start seeing a lot of Southern European, Eastern European people coming to the United States. And you're going to start seeing basic attitudes affecting those people as they started migrating to the United States. So, as we get started, we're going to talk about two areas. On the East Coast, we're going to talk about Ellis Island, basically right outside of New York City. And on the West Coast, we're going to talk about Angel Island. Basically, that's right outside San Francisco. That's where you saw a lot of the Asians started coming to the United States. So, who was coming in? After the 1880s, Eastern and Southern Europeans immigrated to the United States in great numbers. A lot of times they were coming in basically because of economic activity, right? We talked about this probably like about a week ago, where people basically coming to the United States were looking for economic activity, basically economic growth in their lives. A lot of times they didn't have jobs where they were, or they were getting pushed out of the way from their old country because you talk about war, you talk about basically the ability to eat, and you talk about job opportunities just weren't there. Unlike Western Europeans, these immigrants didn't understand basically about representation government. They're basically unskilled labor when they came to the United States. So when they come to the United States, what kind of opportunities did they really have? We have to answer that question in the back of our heads. These people are unskilled labor. Unlike the Western counterparts, these people didn't know about working in like factories as electricians or building stuff with their hands. These people basically had no real job skills in the United States. In America, basically, they saw this as a land of opportunity. Usually what we call chain migration, where one person comes over, then they take right back home to their family members, telling them what a great opportunities they have. So typically you get like a cousin to come over, maybe your brother, maybe your sister come over, because you talk about that opportunity that you have in the United States, and they want that same opportunity for themselves. So, 1870s to basically 1900s, the population basically of the United States doubled. In some cities, it tripled, right? So now we're going from this rural America. No longer people working on these farms. They're working inside these cities at these large scale balances now. So now life is totally different. And we have to talk about life inside these cities. Let's look at this picture. What do you see? You see a lot of people crowded in one area. And that's basically how these people started living, right? Cities started expanding. Like in Chicago, you start seeing skyscrapers being built. The first one happened in 1885. So you start seeing people instead of building out, they're building up now, right? Then you start seeing expanding cities require basic public transportation, basic indoor plumbing. You start seeing telephones. These all become essential activities inside the cities, right? So people are now earning wages. No longer do I have to go sell this, food at this like mart, or do I have to go sell this food at this store? Now basically I can earn a wage working in the factory. And United States changed again, guys. We became a nation of consumers during this time frame. Alright? Some in society live these extravagant lifestyles, right? They become consumptions, right? So now they want to go out and spend the money that they earn. We talk about the middle and upper classes, right? So now these actually became job opportunities for these lower skilled workers now. Working into these department stores. You started seeing Macy's, Marshall Field's in Chicago. They attract these middle class and upper class customers providing working class jobs. So now if I'm like this new immigrant, basically with no skills, I can work at a department store. And I can start building my skills up that way through sales. Okay, life in the cities, guys. I'm not going to say life in the cities was great. It wasn't during this time frame. You're talking about a lot of filth, as you can see. You can talk about kids being run basically amok Because guess what? Their parents are working long hours at these stores and at these factories, right? So you start seeing uncollected garbage. You start seeing unwashed bodies, horse droppings in the middle of the road. And people live there for fear, basically unemployment. So I can't stay home because my child is sick anymore. I can't do that. Because if I stay home because my child is sick, guess what? I'm going to get fired from that job. And people saw this because these guys are lower class skilled workers, right? They didn't have the opportunity to go seek other employment. So they basically feared unemployment, illness. And let's say I got injured on the job. Guess what? That's the kiss of death of that job. Because if I got hurt on that job, basically they're going to tell me to go because they're not going to do anything for me. And remember, injury of the breadwinners. There was no safety net in American society during that time frame. When you get hurt on the job, there's no, you can't basically have a company pay for you to be off work. There's no safety net during this time frame. So we needed some reforms to happen in society. Let's happen later on. Again, the slums are overcrowded. As you can see in this picture, this is multifamily basically homes, basically people living in these apartments, basically crowded on top of each other. So you start seeing diseases like tuberculosis pop up, right? Because these communal diseases that are being passed forth through different people. Again, this happens basically all through basically to the 1930s, 1940s, right? Multi-family families live in one-room apartments. This happened a lot. This happened a lot of the time from basically the 1880s all the way to the 1930s, 1940s, okay? And the federal government didn't basically help these people assimilate either. So I'm coming from, let's say, Eastern European. I'm still coming with the same culture I had. I'm still coming with the same language. I don't basically understand American traditions. I don't really understand American society. So guess what? I'm going to try to find a community where I can live in. But if I can't find the community that I live in, like the people from the old country, I'm just going to settle where I can settle. So a lot of times some of these people became victim of political bosses. These political bosses would basically help these people get jobs. But in return for those jobs, basically, they had to basically vote for their candidate. And sometimes those candidates wouldn't up with these people. Sometimes they're anti-immigration, right? They got your vote, but they wanted you out. And they became some job swindlers, right? So sometimes these people help you find a house. Whatever money that you had, they take that money. So you go find an apartment, right? Then once you get to that apartment, they say they'll see you later. So the landlord comes to that apartment, say he didn't rent you out to that apartment. So a lot of times people became swindled at basically where they lived. Basically, they became like for a job opportunity too. They take you to this job, basically get you employed. Basically, they tell you that you got this job. So you show up to that job the next day. The boss come around and say, ask who you are. Basically became swindled because this guy said he's gonna find a job for you. And that job never existed, right? So this happened a lot to these new immigrants. The immigrants basically had to learn quickly to the United States traditions. If they didn't learn that they could get swindled out of these opportunities, guess what happened? They got swindled. They got basically left out in the streets. So that left a lot of bitterment in a lot of people, right? So, and also, in American society, we have this deal called we call it WASP, right? White Anglo-Saxon Protestant Tradition of America. This is called nativism, right? If you're the other, basically they look down on you. Basically, we don't want you here because you're undesirable. Immigrants are blamed for basic problems in the city. Unions hate them because they basically brought down the wages. Basically, if I'm trying to get onto like a factory, and basically I can tell them that I can work for cheaper what this union worker can work, the boss is going to give me that job because I'm not going to join that union either. So again, it's nativism. They said they try to take our jobs, right? Old South Park, they try to take our jobs, right? So that's what you're going to see a lot basically during this time frame. You saw a lot of nativism. That happened throughout the nation during this time frame. Again, they're blamed for basically higher crime, basically lower wages. So you saw these seeing this basically this transition of, you saw this land of opportunity. You became one of the people that hated. In 1882, basically Congress started passing laws banning poor people and criminals basically from immigrants, right? And how do you do that? 1882. There's no national database of criminals, international, right? So you get here, you come over the boat. If you come from certain countries, they automatically basically call you basically a criminal. So there's no way that you can come into this country through Ellis Island or through basically Angel Island. So they basically sent you back. So that's how they did it back in the day. All right. So how about the West Coast? So you start seeing this immigration basically patterns from basically Asian countries, right? It occurred. They moved to cities. Basically, they call them boom towns. Like San Francisco. They call it Little China out there, right? It's this big, basically Chinese immigrants. Basically, it's their own community within inside the city. It's a city within inside the city, right? So you see these areas. These people are thriving. And again, nativism played its part out there. If I'm doing business with people inside that community, and I'm not doing business with you, guess what that's going to do? That's going to make you a little bit jealous, right? So anytime I try to, bring people over, my community is booming, that's just going to basically irritate you. I'm not doing business with you. I'm just doing business with inside my community. I'm trying to basically change that dollar over 10 times within that same community, right? So that's what you're going to see basically in the early part of the basically from 1800, from the 1880s all the way to even 1940s in black communities. Because what happened, the black dollar was just constantly get turned over too. So this happened a lot basically in San Francisco. So they faced discrimination by politicians. Politicians wanted the Asians out because they realized they turned that community into basically a multi-million-dollar community, right? People were getting rich within Little China, and people were taking care of their own in Little China. So politicians, 1883, they basically did the Chinese Exclusion Act, basically forbade Chinese immigration from entering the United States. So guess what? So now these people, this nativism, right? If I'm not doing business with you, I'm not taking care of you, they don't want you there, right? So this happened in American society. Other laws passed against immigrants. In 1885, they passed a law banning basically importation of immigrant workers. So now we look at the high end of these unions, right? And you have to understand that these unions are trying to make sure that the workers get paid great wages. But the way that I can basically make sure that my workers get paid great wages is get rid of the competition. So they saw these foreign immigrants as basically competition, right? And you have to understand it's just simple economics. We have scarce resources. So what happened in the United States, you have these scarce resources, right? So now, I know these people can't basically talk English. I know basically they're not getting the best schooling over their own country. 1917, I passed a literacy test basically for immigrants to come in. So now, I'm basically trying to create this basically, make sure these guys jump through sticks because I want only desirable immigration. I don't want the undesirables coming over here. Yes, y'all see this as a land of opportunity, but this is going to be the land of opportunity for some, right? So, let's talk about the we-dos. Let's answer this question. Who are the people who immigrated in the United States during this time frame? Remember, guys, we talked about Eastern and Southern Europeans on the East Coast. And on the West Coast, there's people from Asia. You're talking about people from South Pacific. Those are the people coming to the United States during this time frame. Why did older American groups have problems with these new Americans? Again, simple economics, guys. They felt like they was basically bringing down the wages, and they looked upon them as undesirable people because there wasn't basically white, Anglo-Saxon Protestants coming to this country. Again, a lot of these people from Eastern and South Europeans were coming in were Catholics. They basically were basically the European churches, right? They weren't coming in basically as Protestants from basically Western Europe. So that's a lot of times that they consider these people undesirable. There's a huge time basically in American history where they looked down upon the Catholics in American society. So, now this is what I want you to do. You got that pen and you got that paper. We just talked about this, right? Now, I want you to explain a bigger context how immigrants and cultural and economic factors affected migration patterns over time in one paragraph. We already talked about, the Irish immigrants coming over. We talked about all these other groups. It all plays in basically in economic factors why they came over. I want you to discuss this in one paragraph. I'm Paul Turner, Social Studies Coordinator, KC Public Schools. Thank you for coming to my home.
Lincoln Middle.
At Lincoln Middle School, students discover their talents and passions, where teachers plant the seeds of lifelong learning.
I am Lincoln Middle.
Where excellence is nurtured. Students develop the skills to be successful in school, career, and beyond.
Je suis Lincoln Middle.
Lincoln Middle is the public school where your child will thrive and grow. Open a world of possibilities. Apply today. Learn more at enrollkc.org/Lincoln Middle.
Kindergarten is great at Kansas City Public Schools.
I know they have really good teachers. I know this is a great school.
They teach them stuff that I thought my kids would never be able to know at the age of 5.
Since deciding to send our kiddos to a neighborhood school, we've become even more of a part of our community.
Now is the time to enroll your future kindergartner for the new school year. Visit enrollkc.org today.
I chose manual because it's challenging and fun, and it can help me with college.
I chose manual because I wanted to get a jump start in my career with culinary arts.
I chose manual to acquire skills I'd use in real life.
I chose manual because I want to be an ER doctor, and being an EMT is my first step.
Kickstart your future today at Manual Career and Technical Center. Manual is open for all 11th and 12th grade students in both Kansas and Missouri. Learn more today at enrollkc.org/manual or call 816-418-5200.
The desire to create lives within each of us. From Grammy-winning producers and musicians, to NBA stars, to Navy admirals and Medal of Honor recipients, to internationally renowned artists, and beloved local muralists, Paseo graduates have been creating their own success, their own history, their own legacy since 1926. Now it's your time. Create your future at Paseo Academy of Fine and Performing Arts. Learn more at enrollkc.org/Paseo.
I love Southeast because of the culture, the band program, and restorative justice.
I love Southeast because of the academics, sports, and students.
I love Southeast because of the people, the energy, and the advanced classes.
It's not alike. I love Southeast because the students here at Southeast are full of potential and they believe in achieving anything. We are Southeast. We stand shoulder to shoulder.
Join the Southeast family. Enroll today.